Halloween just passed, and I came up with... No, you know what? I didn't come up with the idea. Something greater than me would have given me this idea because it's so brilliant. I'll stay with me for a second. I was thinking about Kobe Bryant. And in one of Kobe Bryant's last ever interviews, he said on Value Entertainment that if he had Shaq's body, right, if he had the physique of Shaquille O'Neal, you've probably seen this, that easy 12 NBA championships, that the game is over. 12 NBA championships or something like that. Easy.
Who would Shaq be if he had your work ethic?
He'd be the greatest of all time.
And my thinking is, what if we could find out? What if we could dissect Shaq's brain outside of his body and surgically insert Kobe Bryant's brain inside of Shaq? And it's Kobe Bryant's brain. It's his mentality, the Mamba mentality. It's his compass. It's his mindset, right? It's one of the most amazing things that's ever graced the earth. And you put it in Shaq's 7'1", agile, wrecking ball of a body. What would it be like? I've always imagined it to be something like, have you seen the end of the Kung Fu Panda movie where it's like, is his name Po or Fo? We'll call him Po. Where Po is, he's just gracefully boomeranging all the shots you throw at him back at the enemy and destroying each ship one by one. And he's using this Jedi trick, and it's like, it's brute force met with this level of what I'd imagine to be like this Phil Jackson Zen-like instilled grace. Brute force meets grace is what Kobe Bryant meets Shaq. That's what it would have been like. So, even though we're past Halloween, I was thinking, what other examples could we come up with? So starting at number one, we have, and it's a pretty obvious one, just getting it out of the way easy, quickly, Russell Westbrook's brain and Ben Simmons' body. Now, the obvious reason is that it solves the fear component, right? Before you know it, Ben Simmons will be shooting the ball. You want him to shoot the ball? Oh, he'll shoot the ball. Ben Simmons will be shooting the ball early in the shot clock. He'll be shooting it late in the third and fourth quarters. Or he'll shoot a lot in overtime. You're going to have to bench him to stop him from shooting the ball. And he still won't get the message. You add on this young body, fresh athleticism, and this length. And it's a scary combination. It's a very scary combination. Very different from what we have now with Ben Simmons. Next up, we have Jaylen Brown's brain in Jayson Tatum's body. Now, hear me out. This might confuse a lot of people. Just by the process of ironing, sharpening iron, Jayson Tatum has become I think he's a very solid all-around leader. Solid. Jaylen Brown's always been that dude. Jaylen Brown has always had that attitude. Jaylen Brown is always the one urging Tatum to speak more and be a bigger voice in the locker room. Jaylen Brown has always been the more natural leader, at least in my eyes. But we've known from the very beginning of Tatum's career in those early conference finals battles that the skill set that Tatum has, he had to be the number one. He had to be the number one guy for the Celtics ship to sail at full efficiency. He had to be. And you could take out Jaylen Brown because the difference isn't too big with maybe take out Brown, put in Al Horford or Marcus Smart or something like vocal leadership. Coming out of Duke, that wasn't who Tatum was naturally. Now, give him credit because he is somebody who has molded himself to become a guy like this. But I just think they would have saved a lot of effort if it was Brown right away. Because Tatum it was a process for Tatum. Okay, moving on. This is my favorite one. Ready? Allen Iverson's brain, David Robinson's body. It would just be such an interesting mix. Like, they share nothing. They share nothing alike. I don't know if this means that now the Admiral can stay up all night partying and come to a game and drop 40 points on 50 or 60 shots. But if you had Allen Iverson's brain in David Robinson's 7'1" specimen, I mean, that dude had muscles on his muscles. Well, for one, he would be the number one pick in the human race history of being the greatest partier of all time. Can you imagine 7'1" body, David Robinson, and Allen Iverson going out partying all the time? But now he can shoot. Now he's bouncing off contact instead of being bounced from contact. He's the ultimate 2K build. I'm more like, because I just think it would be I like thinking of David Robinson with a bit of swagger. He doesn't have any, but with just a bit of, bit of Shazam. Anyway, next one is Ray Allen's brain in David Thompson's body. Okay, now hear me on this. Ray Allen, he's a very detail-oriented guy. He's a grinder. He's very spiritual. You've seen his Instagrams, a lot of God quotes. I didn't know that about him as a player. He became great because he picked spots on the floor and shot a precise amount of shots from that position. He would calculatedly move on. It was just all very, it was very detail-oriented. Now, he had the bounce, he had the flair, but Ray Allen was a guy who became great because, it was just detail-oriented. Now, David Thompson, one of the most forgotten NBA superstars ever, probably the most forgotten NBA superstar. And my favorite story of DT was he dropped 73 points to win the scoring title, but he didn't end up winning it because the Iceman George Gervin dropped in 63 in the last game of the season. I think Shaq and David Robinson had a similar thing back and forth. Hey, that's 2 David Robinson references in one video on YouTube. That might be a YouTube record. 2 David Robinson references. Now, David Thompson was known mostly as an awesome talent in the early 80s, but someone who spent at least $1,000 a day on cocaine, on the white powder, or a lot of cocaine. It ruined his career. He had the talent. He didn't have the self-control. That's where Ray jumps in. Now, finally, to make the greatest player ever, and it's not, Steph Curry's brain and Giannis's body. It's better. It's Bill Russell's brain in Wilt Chamberlain's body. Wilt was always a better athlete. I mean, it wasn't even close. He's one of the best athletes to ever walk the earth. I mean, track, volleyball, boxing, weights. He chose what he was going to be awesome at. Now, Russell, he had ops too. Russell's very underrated for his athleticism, by the way. There are pictures of him jumping over dudes to get rebounds, blocking shots from head on the backboard. I mean, it wasn't plumbers, man. It was a big man with long legs who could outrun a lot of dudes. But, Wilt was different. Wilt was Wilt because Wilt was out of this world. He really was. And the way Russell beat him was because he used mind games. He was the greatest at this. You think Kobe was the greatest at this? No. Bill Russell was the GOAT at doing this. He used leadership qualities. He knew that the best way for the team, because remember, for Russell, it was always about the team. The best way for the team to win was to not be the alpha on offense, but to be the enforcer on defense. For Wilt, it was always Wilt this, Wilt that. If Wilt wasn't scoring, he was sulking. He was getting coaches fired. He was moving from team to team and pissing off teammates. That's who Wilt was. If you put Russell's brain in Wilt's body, oh man, it's game over. It is. Now, Russell won 11 championships, so how much better could his career have been? I don't know, but I mean, I think this type of play would have transcended the black and white television. If he had Wilt's charm, which I guess he doesn't because it's Russell's brain, but I think if in this reality, if tape delay wasn't a thing or it was just stopping then, like it stopped in the 80s, I think the NBA would immediately, with this type of play, would immediately be the biggest league in the entire world. As early as the 60s, and they started in the 40s. Okay, let me know which NBA player's brain you would awesomely insert into another NBA player's body. I want to actually read these in the comments, so please write them down. Well, thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe.